Hey there folks, and welcome to this video. And the month of June, which is the month that I'm recording this in, is also known as Pride Month. So over the course of this month, I am planning to do a series of videos talking about the LGBT plus community in relation to motorsport, because I'm aware I'm very much a motorsport YouTuber at this point. And there are several different reasons why I want to do this. For example, it's to do with the fact that I myself belong to the LGBT plus community and am an LGBT plus rights activist. But it's also because I'm aware that even though I follow a lot of people who are openly and proudly LGBT plus on social media, especially people who have a relation to motorsport in some way, be they journalists or fans or otherwise, there is still so many people who won't be aware of the issues, they won't be aware of the personalities, and they won't be so much aware of the kind of terms that I will be talking about. So it's partially informative and educational, and partially me just showing stuff that I'm passionate about talking about. So this first video is very much going to be a kind of crash course. I'm not going to talk so much about history, I'm going to be talking more about terminology, and also I'm going to go into some of my own personal experiences. So, some of you might know LGBT plus as just LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. It's to do with sexual and gender identities that are considered non-conforming in regards to a cis-normative, heteronormative society. So I'm going to break down those terms each and in their own way. Cis-normative regards to gender identity, and it's where your gender identity is the same as the sex that you were assigned at birth. At the same time, you can have somebody who identifies as transgender. That's where their gender identity doesn't conform with the sex they were assigned at birth. Now, there are several different interpretations of this. So, for example, you can have people who are transitioning from male to female, female to male. But you can also have people who identify with such terms as non-binary. And non-binary itself tends to be a collection of different gender identities where people don't identify with being male, nor do they identify with being female. Now, it's worth noting that such people who are intersex exist, so that means that at birth you were born with two different types of sexual organs, and there is a lot more research you can do into this topic by yourself, but I'm aware that if I'm going to be talking in particular about trans identities, I will have to dedicate a whole video to talk about trans identities because there is a lot to talk about. And the same in regards to sexual identities. So, most people will be aware of lesbian, bisexual, and gay. And it tends to, and I'm saying tends to, refer to somebody who is attracted to particular gender identities. But at the same time, being lesbian doesn't necessarily mean that you're a woman. As being gay doesn't necessarily mean that you identify with being a man. And the plus to LGBT plus refers to a lot of identities that sit outside of these, such as one that's been coming up more and more in terms of being known about, which is pansexual. And these are terms that you can look into more in your own time. I'm not going to be fully educating you on here either, because like I said, if I'm talking about in particular sexual identities and gender identities, I will be talking for hours. But I personally identify with the labels such as bisexual and pansexual. And I have done I think in part most of my life now. I've been openly out for about 6 or 7 years. And for me, it wasn't so much like I met particularly much blowback or particularly much what you call homophobia or biphobia. And in regards to the motorsport community, I haven't either. I remember I went to a Catholic school, and when I was told that I had come out, I was 15, it was not long after I'd started doing this stuff here on YouTube, people were saying, yeah, you've come out, because what had happened was somebody made a gay joke saying, would you date this person? I said, well, he has a girlfriend, but if he was so way inclined and he wasn't in a committed relationship, maybe. As a joke. Now, everyone said as a result that I had come out as bi or gay, and my first response was, I talked about it in a video within like my first week of being on YouTube. That was over the summer holidays, so you guys said you watched my content. You obviously don't. But at the same time, it wasn't so much a thing for me. And whilst I did get a lot of, and I still do, a lot of the questions that can be deemed in some regards homophobic or biphobic, such as in regards to bisexuality, do you prefer a particular way? Do you swing a particular way? So like, are you like 70-30 in regards to your sexual preferences? That is an inappropriate question to ask. And it really is, because I don't have an answer to that question. There will be some people who will provide answers to that question, but a lot of people who identify with labels such as bisexual, they won't want to answer that question. And in regards to the motorsport community itself, it's not something that I've particularly talked about, being LGBT+. And even though I am, say, within the Labour Party, the local Labour Party LGBT+ officer, so I am a representative of the LGBT+ community that sits on the executive for my local Labour Party. Again, it's not something that I particularly talk much about. And it's not because of any kind of homophobic or biphobic or anything like that upbringing, because my family is incredibly progressive and I haven't received any kind of treatment like that from anyone in my family. And I'm quite lucky for that. I also have to understand I come from a place of privilege there. So, for example, with so many people being in lockdown at the moment, there are members of the LGBT+ community who aren't out to their families, to whom it's being a struggle being locked down with their family, because they believe their family is homophobic, it's transphobic, and they don't know what to do. In regards to the motorsport community itself, I haven't really, like I said, encountered much in the way of homophobia. Personally, I've seen a lot of people that I follow encounter it. But there is one incident that sticks out for me, and for people who know me personally, I've talked about it several times. But I haven't really talked about it on this channel in a video. So it was back in March. I was just coming off the back of having done the stream about the Australian Grand Prix being cancelled, and my live streams were getting more and more viewers than I was usually used to. I was doing one in ISRBR for Rally Mexico, and I had a really high peak current by my standards. Typically I'll get 2 or 3 people watching at one go. At this point I was getting double digits, and one person came into chat and just said gay, and the instant I saw it, which was, I think the instant it was left, I replied with, halfway mate, halfway. And it was partially in jest, but whenever I reflected on it, and I knew it in the moment, I had an aggressive tone. Because that was somebody that was being homophobic. So my response in jest, of saying halfway mate, halfway, was because I had felt like that person intended to attack me by saying it. Whether or not they were presuming my sexual identity is something completely different. But with sexual identity, and in regards to gender identity as well, a lot of people, it's not apparent. Like, typically at Pride Festival, you'd be able to go, yeah, that person's a member of the community because they're celebrating with the community and they've got a massive ass flag wrapped around them. But one of the things that kind of helps is people presume I'm straight. People will presume that. Like I said, I've got a link to a whole bunch of articles and stuff to check out in the description section. One of them is Racing Pride, and in particular there's one which is an article, and it's an interview with someone called Matt Bishop, who is gay and has worked in F1 and now works for the W Series. And W Series is a series I enjoy because you've got people like Sarah Moore, and this season, well, next season, because sadly the championship has been postponed in terms of on-track racing for 2020, Abby Eaton, who is the test driver in the Grand Tour. But the interview with Matt Bishop, there is a line which stands out, which is, for many people, Matt was the first gay person they'd met. For many F1 drivers, Matt was the first gay person that they'd met, that they personally knew was out as gay. And I think that's one of the big things. Like, a lot of people who watch my content would probably presume I'm straight. And for a lot of people, luckily, I hope, me being out as LGBT won't affect how they view me. But sometimes I do get a bit worried. I do. Even though I'm someone who's quite proud of my identity, and someone who never really had it challenged by friends or family. Someone who was lucky to not have it challenged by friends or family. At the same time, I do get worries that I might face abuse, and it's part of the reason why I don't really do much in terms of LGBT plus content on this channel, because I mean, we've seen things such as Prideful this year, which was and is supposedly an attempt by homophobes, transphobes, and other bigots to cause great harm to the community. But yeah, honestly, check out so many things I've got in the description section down below. I mean, I've got articles in there about Mike Butler, who is considered the only openly gay F1 driver. But articles about Lela Lombardi, who it's not so much publicised about her sexuality. There are a couple of articles that I found from a Reddit post, and I'll link the articles and the Reddit post down below as well, which were talking about her being gay as well. But we have a long way to go. Like, in terms of people who are out as LGBT plus as racing drivers, like I said, the Wikipedia page has only got like 15 people. And if you're looking for like recommendations in terms of YouTubers in regards to motorsport and being LGBT plus, check out Charlie Martin. She's amazing, and she uses her platform on YouTube to do a mix of talking about LGBT plus rights and talk about motorsport. And she was doing the Formula E Race Zone Challenge in the challenge races, which was pretty damn cool. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye for now.